Oh,
And she'll be on for
yeah, no, I was
huh? The marching band's coming out.
I was just getting ready for that's it. Doing something. I text her. There's a message.
It's probably just leaving today. Here around she'll go home on Monday and she'll be able to Friday and go home the following Thursday. So, such a plan.
Color guard. Fire the colors. Go and salute.
myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. 2. Spell love. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Spell hands blue.
Please remain standing for invocation.
Good and gracious God, look upon our union this day and bless the men and women and young men and women who dedicate themselves to scouting, as well as all those veterans who have made the ultimate sacrifice for their country. Help all of us to model behaviors which foster the formation of citizens who value the gifts of this great nation, the sacrifices of others, and the responsibility of having been greatly blessed. Watch over and guide all those involved in fostering the development and education of our young people, so that the freedom purchased by our veterans may be treasured and protected by each generation to come. Almighty God, help all of us to love the United States of America, to reverence its flag, and to be grateful for its gifts. All glory, praise, and honor to you, most merciful God, forever and ever. Amen. Please be seated. I've asked, since I'm an Eagle Scout, to share some just general reflections on what I got out of scouting. One image that comes to my mind certainly is that every single time we got together, the flag was saluted, and we were reminded of the great privilege that it is to be a citizen of this great nation. I think of any organization, I can't think of any organization that fosters a reverence for citizenship as much as the Boy Scouts do. I look with fondness on my experience as a scout. Each summer our troop went to Camp St. Andrew, and we began the day not just with services for the flag, but was followed by a mass. I came to like the smell of the woods, building a campfire and then cooking our own meals outside. The Mayor of Bradges gave us, all of us, broad exposure to different areas of interest. I'll never forget visiting the home of the mentor for the woodworking Mayor of Badge back in Southside, Greenwood section of Scranton. His house was filled with all kinds of things that he carved, and right there in front of us, he pulled out a deer from a block of wood, and it took him no more than maybe 15 minutes, and it was almost magical, his skill. One Mayor of Badge required us to learn to tell trees just by the bark and a leaf. And it helped to foster in me a love for botany. In fact, I chose Penn State for my freshman year precisely because it was, at that time, it was one of only 4 colleges in the United States that offered a bachelor's degree in botany. But that lasted about 2 weeks because they were so brilliant. There were only 3 people in the major. I got scared, so I switched to pre-med, which was a lot easier. And I came to appreciate the life-saving merit badge when a busload of inner-city children were brought up to the seminary in Dalton, and the group pushed a whole crowd of young kids off the dock at once, the way it moved. Some children couldn't swim. And luckily, I was not the only adult there, and none of the children drowned. Boy Scouts really does foster values which have shaped my life and my respect for our country and for those who make personal sacrifices, not just on behalf of our country, but on behalf of the young people who will be the citizens of tomorrow. I think it teaches young men to be grateful, and that's important, not only for citizenship, but in any religion at all, to learn how to be grateful. I'm certainly grateful to the men and women who've made the ultimate sacrifice for my personal freedom in this country, and I'm grateful to the men and women who worked so hard when I was a kid and showed us genuine care for the young in their community by giving their time and their talent. It's a blessing to be exposed to such good men and women, and Scouting allows that in good measure. So thank you for the opportunity to share a few words, and most of all, thank you for the opportunity to reverence our veterans. God bless you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ed Sokolowski, in case there might be somebody that doesn't know me out there. And if you haven't figured out already, there's a little bit of a Boy Scout theme to today's program. The Boy Scouts have put together this whole program, Boy Scout Troop Suit 265, right here in Montana. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. There's something in this program for everyone. I do have one request. You're not going to hear me talking much today, Joe. But one request. Sometime this weekend, and Father said something along the same line, but sometime this weekend, maybe while you're sitting here enjoying the program, take a moment or two and to remember those who gave their lives for our freedom, and those who passed after having served their nation. Memorial Day is about giving thanks for the sacrifices of these men and women, and a time for reflecting on how they made this world a better place for all of us. So take a few moments throughout the course of this weekend and focus on that. A lot of time has gone into preparing for today's program. It takes time, it takes work, it takes a lot of practice. Things don't just happen. Somebody has to lead. Today's Master of Ceremony, Damian Fryla, is one of the many young leaders in our community. We have these leaders around us, all around us, believe it or not. They don't have to be township supervisors. They don't have to be county commissioners. There are a lot of other as or more important places for our leaders to be. They're involved with scouting, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. They work with all of our kids through all the sporting programs. They're in our churches helping, doing things. They're in some of the many small businesses that are in the township. They're learning some skills. They're learning some things about life and how to deal with people and issues and so on. And there are leaders in each of those spots helping these young people. I've known Damien for about 30 years, as near as I can tell. Alice can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about 30 years. I've seen him grow into the leadership role that he holds today. He's the guy that's motivated and inspired and guided these scouts to putting this program together, to pull it all together. And believe me, it does take a lot of work. So sit back, enjoy the program. Our veterans display case is all set up in there finally. Stop by, take a look at that, and then have some refreshments after, and be sure to follow in between with the flag retirement ceremony. Thank you very much for showing up today.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you everyone for coming out today and bringing the sunshine. A little warmer would be nice, but we'll get there. Maybe a little too much. Can everyone hear? Okay. When the veterans came to our troop and asked us to help prepare this ceremony today, it was an easy decision on our part. Our boys spend a lot of time remembering and reflecting, and what today is all about is to teach a little bit about what we instill in scouting and on through life. The opening ceremony, you heard the Scout Oath, and in the Scout Oath there are three main parts. It's duty to God and country, duty to other people, and duty to self. That's what we try to instill in every one of our youth involved in scouting, and a lot of that carries through into military careers. I have some information that I collected on some of the different figures that come out of Eagle Scouts and people that were involved in scouting. And I'll start with just a little note on how scouting was formed. It was actually formed by a British Army officer by the name of Robert Baden-Powell. And he started that in England, and eventually it was brought to the United States. Since scouting has taken off in the United States, we've had several accomplishments and several people enter into careers that are either government or military related. 181 NASA astronauts were involved in scouting. That's 57.4% of all astronauts. 39 of them are Eagle Scouts. 36.4% of U.S. states of the U.S. states military, or the United States, I'm sorry, military academy at West Point were involved in scouting as a youth. 16.3% of the cadets are Eagle Scouts. 22.5% of the United States Air Force Academy cadets were involved in scouting as a youth. 11.9% of the cadets were Eagle Scouts. 25% of the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis midshipmen were involved in scouting as a youth. 11% of midshipmen were Eagle Scouts. You see the theme. Scouting prepares youth and prepares them for, in many cases, a career in the military. One of the things that we really reflect on and try to do with scouting is understand and be part of the history-making process. And a lot of that is through our flag and the respect for our flag. So some of the theme of today's presentation will evolve around the flag and what it means to veterans across the country. You notice today we did something a little bit different when we did our flag ceremony. Today we retired an old and flag that was up, actually placed up here at last year's Memorial Day service. It's time to retire those flags. We will show everybody at the end of this service how we as Scouts properly retire a flag, and how, as citizens, everyone should show the same respect and retire it properly. We will have a flag retirement bin in the Civic Center for anyone that has an old and destroyed flag that needs to be retired properly. On Memorial Day, we brought down the old flag, but when we raise the flag, there's something that we do in our raising process. We bring the flag up fast, and we bring it down slow. But on Memorial Day, we bring it up and we bring it to half-mast. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, at noon, the flag will then go back up to full mast. But it's to show remembrance to all of the military that have served our country. A few other notes. The flag should be illuminated at all times, either by sunlight or appropriate light source. The flag should never be dipped. It should only be flown upside down as a distress signal. The flag should be flown in fair weather unless designed for all-weather use. The flag should never be printed upon or have a mark upon it. When the flag is lowered, no part of it should touch the ground or any other object. And the stored flag should be folded neatly and with ceremony. And at one point in our presentation today, you'll learn a little bit about why the flag is folded the way it is, what all of the parts of the flag make up, and how it ties directly to what today is all about. So with that, I'd like to bring up our troop chaplain, Ed Osborne, and he has in your program, you'll see a single sheet. He's going to read that, and this is a story that really ties in scouting to military and commitment. So, Mr. Osborne, if you come forward.
With a band. That wasn't planned, Damien.
I thank God for a beautiful day today. Thank you for coming. On behalf of the Scouts, and especially myself, we're truly honored to be here. In the course of things, when I put some ceremonies together, I got to find some things that are inspirational and something that are appropriate. And I ran across this once, and I wanted to share it with you. It truly exemplifies, in my opinion, what sacrifice and brotherhood is all about. So it's called the Spirit of Scouting. Kyoto, Japan is a city of many temples. Among these temples stands a statue, somewhat different than its surrounding. It is a statue of two young men, an American scout and a Japanese scout, clasping hands. How it came to be there is a story worth telling. Some of the worst fighting of World War II was in Okinawa. It was protracted and bloody, and fought with fierce determination by both sides. In the midst of one of these battles, near the beach, a young American soldier fell wounded. As he lay there, bleeding and in pain, his vision out of focus, about to lose consciousness, he saw a Japanese soldier standing over him, bayonet at the ready, poised to strike. He said afterwards he did not even know himself why he did what he then did. He was weak from blood loss and blacking out. But he raised his right hand in a familiar sign, the universally recognized Scout sign. Then he lost consciousness, expecting never to awake. He did wake, though. When he came to, he was in an American field hospital. His wounds had been dressed. In his pocket was a note written in Japanese. He was able to find someone to translate the note eventually. And this is what it said. I could not bring myself to kill a fellow scout. The note also bore the name and address of the Japanese soldier who, instead of taking his life, had spared it and tended to his wounds before moving on. When the war had ended, the young soldier was assigned to the occupation force. He went to find his savior at the first opportunity. He discovered that the Japanese soldier, who had both spared and saved his life, had died later in the fighting there in Okinawa. But his family had survived. And the American became their friend and helped them in every way he could during his time in Japan. When asked why, he explained what had occurred and showed the note, which he still kept. The people were so touched by this story that they erected the monument that stands in Kyoto today. It is a monument to our shared humanity, that in the midst of war and violence, of hatred and bloodshed, two young men found that they were in fact brothers. It is a monument to the ideals of scouting, that even when thus deeply divided, scouting is a link that joins us and encourages compassion, mercy, understanding, and peace. Thanks. I was really taken by that story when I first read it, and it says it all.
Thank you, Ed. Our first guest speaker is in scouting, but dressed in a different color than what you traditionally see in the khaki green. His name is Chuck Jagat. He is the skipper for Sea Scout Ship 90, and They're located up in New Milford, Pennsylvania. Some of our boys in scouting here are actually part of this ship, which we call. And you'll see that there are variations of scouting that extend into an older age group. Scouting, Boy Scouts stop at 18. Sea Scouts goes up to 21, and they their dress will be either the dress whites or dress blues, depending on the time that they would wear them. And it's very similar to what you would see in the naval situation. So, Mr. Jaggett is a retired naval veteran. He was active in the Vietnam War and has been active in the active in the military from 1959 to 1984. And his final rank was commander in the Navy. So I would like to invite Mr. Jaggett to please come forward and offer some words.
Success managing my notes. The wind is not going to be kind to me, I am sure. We are celebrating Memorial Day today here, but in 1971, Congress officially declared the last Monday in May as Memorial Day, a day set aside to pay tribute to those who lost their lives while serving in the military forces of the United States. This year, Monday, May 25th, is officially Memorial Day. The observance of the debt owed to soldiers who had fallen short. The observance of the debt owed to soldiers who had fallen started shortly after the Civil War. Many communities across the country declared decoration days to honor those who had died as a result of the Civil War and decorated their graves with flowers. In 1868, General John Logan, then serving as commander of the GAR, declared May 30th that year was Decoration Day, calling for the graves of Civil War soldiers to be decorated with flowers. After World War I, the observance, not yet an official holiday, was expanded to those who died in all of America's wars. In 1951, I joined the Boy Scouts of America and became a member of Troop 80 in Park Ridge, New Jersey. The first thing I learned in scouting was the Scout Oath. As you know, it starts with these words. As a Boy Scout, I promise to do my duty to God and my country. These words, duty to God and my country, through them I kind of established a commitment, an understanding that I owed some duty to my country. To me, that duty was kind of a vague concept. In 1951 was only 6 years after the end of World War II. Almost every man between the age of 25 and 40 had served in the military. One of my scout leaders had served, but the other leaders were older. My father had not served. They were not taking men with 4 children. If my memory is correct, we were calling the observance Memorial Day, not Decoration Day. On Memorial Day, Troop 80 marched and paraded between the 3 local cemeteries. The parade was big. Large groups of recent veterans dug out their uniforms and marched again to pay tribute to their fallen comrades. I also remember at each ceremony that after the speeches, the gun salute, the closing prayer, we scouts would rush to where the rifle salute team had been standing and scour the ground, all in hopes of finding the shiny souvenir shell casings. We were still very young. Through these experiences, I believe that every citizen had a military duty to our country, and that doing that duty could result in death. I also believe that everyone who died in the service of our country deserved our eternal gratitude. I did not know that military service required taking an oath that for a specified period of time put you and your life completely under the control of our government. In 1959, after high school graduation, I enlisted in the United States Navy, raised my right hand, and took the enlistment oath given to every person joining any branch of our military. The oath goes like this: I, and you state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. When I joined the Boy Scouts, I learned the oath and repeated it often. Taking the enlistment oath is different. The enlistment oath is performed like a wedding ceremony, where the clergy says, repeat after me. I, Brad, take thee, Marcia. And Brad says, I, Brad, take thee, Marcia. Well, during the taking of the oath ceremony for the military, most everyone stumbles a little here and there on the words. But when it's all over, your life, for a specified period of time, is changed forever. You have consented to obey all orders and regulations. The enlistment oath does not include the phrase, for better or for worse, but it could. I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois. I learned many things about Navy, about the ships, knots, and about working with others. Most importantly, I learned to accept that my life was now controlled by regulations and the officers appointed over me. They decided when I would get up, what and if I was going to eat, when I could sleep, what I would wear, when and how my hair would be cut, how my uniforms were folded. My life was now controlled. All orders were to be obeyed instantly. I was now mentally prepared to do my duty, whatever my country wanted. It was how citizens become soldiers, sailors, and airmen. What I experienced, I assume, is similar to what others experienced. After recruit training, specialized training, and finally being assigned to a unit, you become part of that unit. Your duty is to contribute your best to ensure that your unit is prepared and effective, whatever the tasks assigned. good news is, about this, is that no other country in the world values the lives of its military personnel higher than the United States. Obviously, to be useful and effective, military personnel must be sent in harm's way. But they go with excellent equipment, excellent training, excellent planning and logistic support, and excellent leadership. Our country wants everyone to return. However, military engagements almost always involve bloodshed on both sides. We are here today as citizens of a grateful country to express our thanks for those patriots who took the oath to do their duty to defend our country. Their country, our country, the United States of America, and who paid the ultimate price. We can never repay the debt we owe them. We must continue to recognize and appreciate that they did their duty for us. We must pray and work for a world where common good trumps military action. But all our citizens must never forget that they have a duty to their country.
Thank you, Skipper. Our next speaker is John Gadenzi. He's Assistant Scoutmaster from Troop 111 in Waymart. John served in the U.S. Army for 22 years. He was a Sergeant First Class and saw action in Vietnam and Grenada. So, with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Gadenzi forward.
Clarification here. I was in the Army during the Vietnam War. I served mainly at Fort Lewis, Washington, and some of you people realize what was at Fort Lewis at those days. I don't have to go on any further. I was in the National Guard.